From downtown Milwaukee, welcome to Money Talk with Bob Landis. Each week, professional advisors from Landis & Company Investments discuss the latest financial developments, offering timely insight and long-term perspective.
This is Money Talk for Friday, July 31st, 2026. On the show today, we've got Dave Sandstrom, Adam Baley, me, Jason Scuglik, and starting us off, here's Kyle Tetting.
Well, thanks, Jason. A bit of a pre-recorded podcast, but I think a worthwhile topic this week. We spend so much of our time and energy and our industry more broadly focused on some of the risks that are out there to investors, to us as individuals. And I think we'd be remiss, Jason, if we didn't include you in that conversation as one of what I would call our internal experts here. And again, expert's a tough word to use in this industry because it changes so quickly, but so important, I think, that we share some of the messages we share internally on how we help protect investors from some of the frauds and scams that are out there. And perhaps a good start for this conversation, Jason, might be to have you walk us through just a couple of the things you see or have seen in recent times in terms of what kind of risks are out there, what kinds of fraud and scam we're seeing.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. We do spend a lot of time talking internally as a group to try to make sure that we here in the office are all as aware as we can of what is happening out there in the world, what people are seeing, this is a great opportunity to share also some of that information with all of you. Some of the things that we see are things like the advanced fee scams, where they're asking for gift cards, payment for things like contests or lotteries or inheritance. That's not a new scam, but it keeps coming around. We see things like romance scams where the fraudsters are trying to take advantage of people who may be feeling lonely and trying to get in with that, making them think that they're talking to or dating somebody else. We also see things like imposter scams, and those cover a pretty wide range of, impersonating, authorities and threatening you with jail time or larger fines if you don't pay up for things. You might be told that a family member of yours is in trouble, in another country somewhere and needs money, or even a little bit closer to home to our own profession, people impersonating other trusted professionals, investment group scams, or testimonials for products that are very risky or don't exist.
And I think it's so important that we understand exactly how we get there, because often I think we can make ourselves targets, right? Whether it's what we post online, what we share with people maybe that we shouldn't. And so one of the easiest ways I think we can help to protect from that myriad of problems that are out there is just to be a little bit more private in what it is we're willing to share. I think, Adam, one of the things we focus on is how we protect client information. And a lot of that just has to do with the fact that it doesn't really leave our doors, right? That it's all about how do we keep what we know about our clients, what we know about individuals, just here inside the office.
Yeah, for one, we're very protective with client information, whether it be personal information, date of birth, social security numbers, all that sort of stuff. We keep that locked down. But we also don't share anything else about our customers with anybody that we either do business with, and in efforts to try to keep personal information safe. And one of the things that I've noticed over the past 10 plus years is so many of these scams have become significantly more sophisticated and significantly more difficult to kind of suss out. 10 years ago, you get like this poorly worded email from a Nigerian prince and said like, hey, send us some money. But it was clearly a scam. And they're getting significantly more sophisticated, where it takes a few times reading through it before you kind of realize, okay, wow, this is probably something I shouldn't click on. I shouldn't follow this link. I shouldn't open up that attachment. And for me, I've started to find myself when I get emails like that, even to my personal email, I start with the assumption now this is a scam, and then I have to prove myself otherwise. It's one of those things that I do personally just to try to remain vigilant on stuff like this.
Yeah, I think there's a healthy amount of skepticism there. And Jason, I know one of the things you and I had been talking about earlier in the week and earlier today as well is that it isn't even always that first email, that first letter, that first text message is a direct request for action. Sometimes it's just the introduction, right? Sometimes it's the way to lead up to something else.
Yeah, some of these, and especially when we're talking about things like these long scams, the romance scams and things, it's a long game. They're planning to spend a bit of time, kind of earning your trust, so to speak, and try to make you feel better about the interaction before they really start hitting you with these asks for money. And once that starts, it typically doesn't stop until you don't have any more to give.
It's also important to understand that, Adam, you brought this up. The sophistication of these scams now, you shouldn't be embarrassed or afraid to come forward if you feel that maybe you fell for this or maybe you divulged some personal information, because it's important to let your financial institutions know that potentially you've leaked some information that you shouldn't have. And I think a lot of times people do that and they think, oh, maybe nothing's going to happen. I'm too embarrassed to admit this. There are things you can do to help if you do go down that path. But I agree with you all. A high degree of skepticism going into just about every. It's a shame, right, that we have to go about our lives like that right now. But I think you're way ahead of the game if you look at these things with that skepticism. Yeah,
and one of the things I'll add is a lot of people feel kind of shame when you fall for these things, and it's understandable because they can really get you. So don't feel the shame so much as share this with us, share this with the people in your lives, so that they can help you out through this, that we can put either flags on your accounts or help you be vigilant in that stead. The other thing that I'll add is one of the best tools you might have at your disposal in guarding against this is your financial advisor and the relationship that you have with us. I mean, I've been blessed to be here for 25 years now, and so many of my clients that I've been working with for the last 2.5 decades, I'll know if somebody's trying to impersonate them because, for one, they'd have to sit across the desk from me, or I know the sound of the voice that they have, or where they like to go for dinner on a Thursday. And so much of that personal relationship can help guard against scams like this where it'll come up in a conversation, Judy, this just doesn't sound like you. Or, you know what, Brad, gosh, don't normally react this way. Is there something bothering you that's causing you to want to take this distribution? That relationship can go a long way to help guard against scams.
And one of the best things that we can do for each other really is to talk to each other. Talk with your loved ones, check in with them, talk with your friends. If you get weird email messages, text messages, phone calls, talk about it with your friends. You can joke about it. The more we all know and the more that we're aware of this, the better chance that you or somebody that you love or care about is not going to be taken advantage of in this way.
I think it's that education piece which reminds everyone, hey, this is out there. You shouldn't feel bad if you fall victim to it, because the worst thing you can do is throw good money after bad and trying to solve the problem. The moment you feel like maybe you've been brought into something that's not quite what it seemed is the time to contact the authorities. That might mean your local police. It might mean the FBI. Certainly keep us in the loop on how you might have been impacted. Our job is not to judge. Our job is simply to help you navigate those things that need to come next. And that could be as simple as, hey, go change your passwords, or it might be a much more complicated process of, all right, you're going to have to go to the bank and get new bank account numbers. You're going to have to do a bunch more. But it's why so often we are having conversations with our clients about making sure that we know not only what they do and who they are, but knowing who we can reach out to if we're worried about them, right? And so one of the things we use is this trusted contact. It's a concept that FINRA and our industry created a number of years ago now to ensure that we had someone we could touch base with, not to transact, not to request money on your behalf, but if we were worried that maybe something you were asking for was maybe a little out of bounds or a little out of the usual. And so I think those kinds of things are important when you wonder, okay, Kyle, Adam, Dave sent me that form and they're asking for somebody in my life that I might want them to reach out to. That's why. That's a big part of the reason is we want to make sure that there's someone that we can touch base with, not to tell them all the things you're doing with your money, but just to check on you when we have to. I think that's such a big piece of what we're trying to do. the challenge we face in navigating these risks is that they have gotten sophisticated. There are still so many people, I think, looking to cause us harm. And it isn't any one thing that's going to protect us from this. I think it's this, I call it the Swiss cheese defense, right? That every one of these solutions we can come up with has a hole somewhere. Passwords can be cracked if people want to work on it hard enough. And people can be manipulated and information can be compromised. And it might not even have anything to do with you. And so if you have multiple steps, multiple guards up to help protect you from those risks, well, you become even more protected against those risks that are out there. Some really easy ones, Jason, I know we look at, okay, what kind of software are you using? Are you making sure it's up to date? And then most importantly, and maybe touch on this one just a bit, but what do you do with your passwords? Are you just writing them down on a Post-it and putting them on your computer? Well, maybe the cleaning person finds it and now can access your accounts, or are you using something that's maybe a little more sophisticated?
Yeah, Kyle, I like to use a password manager. There's a number of them out there. If you use Apple products, it comes built in with a keychain manager. There's a number of other products out there. The advantage of a password manager is that it keeps all of these passwords secure for you. And it also really encourages you to have unique and strong random good passwords to use for each one of your different accounts. It helps you to organize those, and it helps you to keep those safe.
I think we have spent a fair amount of time talking about some of the more sophisticated attacks and how to protect against them. I think it's fair to remember that there are still some pretty low-tech things going on out there, whether it's the door-to-door salesman that's not really selling the thing you think he's selling, whether it's the skimmers that can be attached to the credit card swiper or the ATM. I think it is just a reminder that there are a lot of things in our lives that maybe are out there to do us harm, and we do have to stay on guard. We do have to remain skeptical. It doesn't mean that there aren't plenty of people out there that want to help, but if you do have questions, if there are things that you look at and go, this doesn't seem right, probably safe to just slow down. No one's going to rush you into paying that bill to the IRS. No one's going to rush you into swiping that card. And really think about, okay, is this what I think it is? And again, we're here for those questions. We're here for those conversations. Identify the people in your life that you trust that want to help you, and make sure that you keep them involved and in the loop on those things which matter. With that, we enjoy doing the program for you. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you for listening to Money Talk with Bob Landis. If you have a financial question you want answered on next week's show, email it to moneytalk@landis.com. To keep informed throughout the week, visit our Money Talk page at landis.com.